Hello everyone, this is Paolo and this is Wednesday Warzone. And if you're looking at your screens right now, you can see that I'm looking at an eagle body, and I'm not. And what you're seeing here is not a joke. It's all 7,000 stats because we're gonna show off the upgrade system and the shop system, as well as a glimpse into the upcoming mission mode and the enemies that you can encounter in mission mode. We have some updates regarding that. This video is actually supposed to be pretty short. This was supposed to be glimpses. I keep saying that, but stuff like this extends to an hour. Going back to what I would just said, like I said, the focus of this video is the new upgrade and shop system that we're going to release alongside single player mission mode. And what you're seeing here is the eagle, which you can unlock if you use the cheats. But in the actual like planned game mode, the eagle is supposed to be like one of the end game stuff you can unlock by helping the factions, specifically the Eagle Enterprise, Eagle Aerospace. By helping the Eagle Aerospace, as you can see here, I'm pretty high up. I'm high up with them. I'm bros with them. Uh, and if you're like really friendly with one of the corporation megacorps manufacturers, you get to unlock stuff to buy. And the stuff you can buy. For now, we're gonna show you the shop, and then this is the stuff you can buy depending on which factions you're like friends with and which factions have decided to sell you stuff. And the factions here are basically like the mega corporations, the manufacturers. Usually the Archangel manufacturers are not solely Archangel manufacturers. They're usually a big conglomerate megacorp, and they just happen to have enough resources to have their own like Archangel manufacturing gig. But that means usually they have other like subsidiaries, and because they're almost like self-contained, they're like mini governments onto themselves, like mini states onto themselves. They usually have other like what do you call this? Suddenly I had it's on the tip of my tongue. They usually have some kind of security force and other like their actual primary product, which gives them profit, like their specialty, their specialized field, their specialized industry. And it just so happens they're big enough that they have the funding and resources and the manpower to have manufactured their own archangels. So it's you get to encounter them in the main missions because they're usually these big entities, like I said, that have their own interests outside just like selling stuff. So they have their own rivalries. In the world of Garrison Archangel, there's something called the prefecture system. The human colonies unified under the Solar Emperor via the prefect system, in which they were given autonomy, but they have to follow a imperial mandate. But otherwise, they're left alone. They're seen as equal. They're all equal under the emperor, basically. So the emperor doesn't care how they manage their own like they call them fiefs because it's like an old school medieval kind of concept, as long as they fulfill the interests of the empire as a whole. Like if the imperial mandate for this mega corporation is to create all the spaceships, for example, as long as they meet their quota of spaceships and maintain the imperial fleet, they're good. They can handle whatever, they can make whatever law they want in their own land. But of course, because of the many diverse cultures and the autonomy given to them by the emperor, there are conflicts that can occur. I mean, they're all equal under, as far as they're concerned, they're all equal. But there are some issues that you can't just resolve just by saying, yeah, I am I'm I'm like Eagle Aerospace. I handle this and that, but the guy you're talking to is also a mega corporation who also has although in on paper it's equal mandate. You'll have your own interests on hand, like, and because uh you have the autonomy to create your own laws and whatnot. Some of those laws might uh infringe on the interests of other, like, mega corporations and other governments. Of course, the mega corporations are the biggest deal here because they're the ones who are actually able to sustain their colonies, for pro. Uh, they were able to sustain their colonies using a business model, as opposed to just like a governmental, as opposed to a traditional like governmental structure. So you have them becoming these like quasi states, space states. Like Yoshikawa has its own star system and stuff. So I'm going on a long rant, but I'm just trying to explain the relationships between the megacorps and why you'd want to work for them. Long story short, they're megacorps. They have their own interests. They're big enough to have their own militaries, and they have actual rivalries and conflicts with other megacorps usually. But they also have their own alliances because they're prefectures. So their other prefectures are the standard like colonial governments from Earth that eventually became their own like states because, like I said in the lore, Earth was lost. So the Solar Empire is the one thing unifying humanity against the Demiurge, which they said destroyed Earth. That's what they say. But that being said, for how that all relates to what you're seeing right now, the Eagle body type is the strongest Eagle body frame, Archangel body frame there is. And you can see it has high boost, high HP, and high strength. As you can see, I was dealing damage to this guy earlier. Although he's dodging now. Wow, you're pretty good, son. But you can see I'm moving as fast as a Falcon in the base game. I have 7,000 HP base. That's like a mammoth in the base game. So basically, this guy is the Falcon, the Mammoth, and the Myrmidon rolled into one, all their strengths, and that's what you can get in the end game. You'll basically be as strong as, you'll basically have all the strengths of the specialist builds, without any of their weaknesses. So it can really change how much the game is, how much you play the game. And like I warned, when we started making this game, this was balanced around PvP, but you can get pretty bonkers. Right now I'm just using a Dominus, but imagine if you're like carrying all the heavy weapons and you're still moving as fast as a Falcon. You'll be able to feel that in single player. So right now I'm just dancing around the guy and like Dominus, and I'm just like waiting for him to do something. And I have a lot of HP, so I actually don't worry when he attacks me because I have so much HP and stability because I have 7,000 base armor. So that's the kind of stuff you can expect. So imagine if you were like a specialist speed build, how insane your speed would actually be when you upgrade your mech. Oh, and sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, but you can see how the gameplay changes when you have stats that are way above our limitations. I'd say it feels too easy when you're using a build with like 7,000 in all stats. So you can expect to see that, like I said, if you fully upgrade your Eagle and stuff. So like I said, the Eagle is actually like an ultimate body frame for Eagle Aerospace. So I'm a little scatterbrained. I'm sorry. It's been a while since we had a Wednesday Warzone, so I just kind of went into this with a lot of thoughts in my head. I went into a bit of like lore. I don't know what to call it. Rant. I just started randomly mouthing off parts of lore, how the on the different factions, the prefectures. I made like a blurb about the prefectures. The prefectures will play a big part because, like I said, uh, with so much autonomy between the different like smaller government units that make up the Solar Empire, of course there are going to be conflicts, especially where the authority of one begins and one ends. That's the price of giving too much freedom, I guess, uh, to a subject in order to like maintain their loyalty. So this is where people like your character will come in the single player campaign. So I'll reveal that in more future Wednesday Warzones. But we're aiming to have the mission mode come out end of this month, April. I keep saying end of this month, last month, but we found out there's a lot of stuff interlinked with the shop that we have to complete the shop before we get to give it to you guys. So at least you're getting a more complete like single player experience. In my original plan, we just wanted to have like a mission generator that you guys can just play random missions and go and play. But that would just be like horde mode. That would just be like arcade where there's no real sense of progression. So at least with parts to unlock and you becoming stronger as a reward for your continuous like completion of missions, you can have like you can expect a more satisfaction from playing missions again and again. And of course, the different factions will also determine which factions you want to help out. If you want, for example, to get eagle stuff like the eagle, and upgrade your falcon, for example, you want to upgrade your speed type build. You'd want to focus on helping certain factions, but because of the narrative of the story, certain factions will provide more missions than others. So there are factions that are rarer, but that's stuff we're still tweaking with, like how much of the faction loyalty they'll give in case you succeed a mission or stuff. Anyway, enough of me talking about that. Let's go to the mission. So as you can see here, there's a prestige counter for the factions and the corporations. For now, we have like a debug, but in the future, in the actual game, the missions you take, for example, this one. Here, I'm going to help Shenji, but my enemy is Montag. So, okay. As you can see here, Shenji is mad at me for some reason. Okay. Oh my, why are they mad? We received your interest. Oh, duel. Okay. So for now, we're gonna help the Archangel Tournament League. This one's like arcade. No, let's not. Everyone has seen arcade. Let's see. Let's do something else. Avoidance. I'm not that good. How many seconds? I wanted to show off the new enemy types we added. Okay. So those are Archangels, standard stuff. Oh, I'm already bad at avoiding. Standard Archangels. These guys are standard Archangels. But what are those small guys? And as you notice, they all have like the same color scheme based on their faction. And as you can see, these little guys. Oh my, they have shoulder weapons too. How scary. Wow. So this mission, I'm just supposed to avoid damage for wow, 68 seconds. I'll just run away. No. I'm the worst. I avoided how much damage? I avoided no damage. I'll fly over to that other boat. Okay, thanks. Okay, so as you can see, they're all like in the same color scheme. Of course, avoidance damage actually doesn't mean I can't shoot them, but I would risk myself by coming close. Look at that little guy. Look at him. The little angel that could. Oh yeah, these are called angels. Another bit of lore blurb. Archangels are developed from angel technology, which is basically powered suits used for construction work. They became called angels due to their ability to fly. They're not doing a very good job. I'm seeing those two guys fall into the water. Oh no. Their ability to fly means they could be deployed with propulsion. They could be deployed in space, aerospace, and sea and land, in aerospace in different environments. And they became like the backbone of the Solar Empire's armies for a while. It was only really when a general wanted like they wanted to make an angel power suit for the emperor that had all the bells and whistles that you got the first archangel, because they over engineered it to be able to carry all these weapons, high-tech weapons, have all the best armor, have the capability to travel, operate at long distances on its own, with lots of fuel, using some sci-fi propulsion and energy system. So it had all of that, and as a result, it became too big to be called like a power suit, and that's when the first Archangel was made. So the angels are actually the real mainstay of the Solar Empire. If you're just counting numbers, they're the ones that are mass produced alongside the helicopters, tanks, spaceships. They're the ones that function as boots on the ground, so to say. Of course, there's standard infantry, but because angels aren't that big, they're like a story or 1.5 stories tall. They're the ones that you can see on space stations defending space stations. They're the ones you see deployed en masse. Archangels are really more rare, more special suits. That's actually what their role is, and that's why they became like romanticized to the point that you see them in the arena, and they're highly customizable because of their uh, status symbols. Like, it's only the generals and elite forces who get to use them, because they're really expensive too, compared to like an angel that you just need something that fires missiles and guns. So there you have an angel, and there's some armor, and it's not that big. It's not a big target, so it's pretty good. So you're gonna see more of these angels, and as you saw here, they're equipped with various weapons. Some of them have swords too. They have mini E-tacs, as you noticed. Um, oh, this is a dual fight, so no angels here. I have to kill this guy. Ooh. Come here. Oh, Montag. Haha, he died. Okay. No. Ooh, you died again. Okay, so there, as you can see in mission mode, some of them have a different number of phases. So even if you say like the mission is to kill all these targets, you might have to kill multiple different targets. In this first phase, you have to kill these guys. In the next phase, you have to kill these bunch of guys, like a different squad of archangels. So um, you can expect to have, like I said, if you piss off a faction enough, they'll be angry enough to send like a kill squad to interfere in missions. So right now I'm not able to show that system. In the next Wednesday Warzone, we're hoping so, but fingers crossed. And the next Wednesday Warzone could be like in 2 weeks. So this is very much a system still work in progress. So we're hoping to roll this out as soon as possible for people to test in public, and there's quite a lot to digest. So then we'll probably be able to show some real like narrative missions in the future. For now, we just want this like procedural, like randomly generated, play as this faction, fight this enemy faction, and this enemy faction will tend to have these weapons, kind of deal. So we want to have that out at least as soon as possible, and then we'll roll out the actual like narrative stuff, and probably actual boss fights. I know there are some people there who wanted like giant spaceships or giant enemy crabs or whatever. So there's that. Come on, man, just let me hit you once. Jeez. Sadly, we'll also have to remove the horde mission, horde mode voices. Many of them, although we love the community so much, many of them are in jokes in the community, or pop culture references in general. So we feel like adding them in mission mode, which is more or less a more lore-driven like narrative, it might detract from the experience. So it might be a little more quiet than horde mode. Yay. Okay, so that's enough of that. Yeah. Okay, so that's enough of that. That's my glimpse. That's it for the glimpse I was supposed to give. So you have the different missions. There were the new like angels to fight. Survival. Target destruction. Oh, I love the flotilla. They fall to their deaths. And then the upgrade. Did I get to show the upgrade mode? Oh no, I did not. Although I am using. Anyway, I'll go back. Wow, why did it end up there? Why? Okay, let's go garage. Okay, so the upgrade is actually pretty simple. You own. Here's the upgraded links, for example. I upgraded it before the mission. So you have 10 levels. Each base part has 10 levels. At a certain level, they'll change how they look, and they usually have their own. They have their own like new. In the case of weapons, they'll have some kind of new like functionality added. So, for example, there are some guns that run out of ammo after a certain after expanding a certain amount. When they're upgraded, they might have the ability to recharge the ammunition. And there are certain weapons that only gain charge if you do certain things. They're upgraded versions. If you can see here, this Dominus actually looks a little different compared to the old one. It might actually be able to charge that naturally, like you just have to wait and it'll charge on its own. So there's that. And as you can see here, my links legs are still like at the base form, so I'll just upgrade it, and you can actually see the stat changing, and voila, it's a different form now. So normally a lynx would be 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, but at this current level it's like 6,140 on all the stats. So you can expect to see that with other like equipment. So you'll want to use your souls up. That's a currency, and right now the currency, because this is like an early version, just so we can show the system, a debug version, so we can show the system. The souls you earn from your missions, you'll want to use them to upgrade your stuff so that you'll become better. You'll have a better overall machine, because missions, the difference of fighting, missions provide a different challenge from fighting like in one-on-one, because in fighting in one-on-one, the enemy will usually have a variety of tricks to use against you, and normally, because was supposed to be like a player versus player game, it's more of like thinking around how to defeat your enemy and adapting to their strategies, and they're also adapting to yours. So it's like a real like competitive like 1v1 kind of thing. Mission modes provide a different kind of challenge in that sometimes they last too long, and they last like several phases, so you'll want to avoid getting hit by all the small fire that's coming towards you. The enemies individually are weaker, but there's more of them and they're firing more stuff at you. So you'll want to be more tanky, or you'll want to have more speed, or you'll want to have more strength so you can carry more weapons and kill them all as soon as possible. So you'll really want to upgrade so you can take on the higher missions that actually pay more, the harder missions with more phases. For example, this one is 4 phases, so I can't imagine like clearing one phase because I have like 80 seconds on the clock per phase. Of course, this is subject to change. This is a different kind of balancing thing compared to like for PvP. So area control in a falling. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna kill you, man. Coming for you, man. Okay. So you'll really just wanna upgrade your parts so you can play the harder, longer phase missions that pay more and allow you to buy more parts. And maybe you'll get that eagle, that cool looking eagle, or the fully upgraded links. And I don't know, show off. Show off with your friends, basically. And you'll be able to use those parts also for PvP. But like I said, the default PvP was balanced around the base form of the mech. And even in mission mode, we actually have a tournament mission mode called Tournament Fight, in which the Archangel Tournament League imposes the limitations for the safety limitations for Archangels. Because what you're currently using are they're called military spec Archangels, no limiters. They're full capabilities unleashed. So they may impose some like penalties, debuffs on you for the fight. But what they are in game in lore is like safety restrictions. So you'll be able to keep, like, for example, there are builds you will be able to do that you can't do in the base version base unupgraded version of the parts, because of course your strength score will also go up, which means you can carry more weapons. So that's actually what may make certain builds unavailable for multiplayer, but we actually have a way in mind to like allow them to be playable even in base form PvP. But we'll discuss that in the future when we have the like tournament feature for mission mode made. So for now, oh my gosh, it's only phase 2. It's only phase 2. Oh my. So as you can see, I would have died long ago just using a normal like links. Oh wow, look at all these missiles. Oh man. Oh wow. Am I up against a wall or something? Oh no, I'm just being stun locked by the guy. Oh, what a jerk. Okay, so that's stuff to watch out for. Like I said, an enemy player will have some kind of trick or some kind of melee, like really good melee strategy. But the challenge in mission mode is really the sheer amount of firepower going your way. So how do you manage that? How do you work around that? That's gonna be what you're gonna be building for in mission mode. So that's enough about me just like talking about it. I'll go read some questions now. Okay. Questions for April 3 stream. So, will mission mode be this month? Yes, it's been pushed around. Yep, there's a lot on our plate. We're hoping it's gonna come out. When can we expect more cosmetic reskins? Company building is fun, but some are really lacking. I'm not sure what to say about cosmetic reskins, given that the upgraded forms of the base weapons and parts will constitute a lot more cosmetic reskins, quote unquote, compared to the alternates we released back then. Any details you can share on what new weapons are in development? We're currently building a weapon that gives a status buff to all your teammates and yourself. It's going to be made by Yoshikawa and it's gonna favor melee builds. The new Flotilla map is a cool concept, but a little basic right now and buggy. Will it be spiced up at all with launching planes, firing battleships, or any action elements to make it more intense? We'll see what we can do about it. In the first place, the Flotilla was supposed to be like a basic concept map to see how many different variations of maps we can do for the sake of experimentation. But yes, of course, it'll have some work. How satisfied are you with the balance changes? Math. I'm not sure about the Schaefer Outfire math flub because I would argue that the ability to apply all the stacks at once 10 times for a large AoE splash over a longer distance than you normally would with the normal Schaefer fire, I would say even though it deals less damage, quote unquote, in the long run, I would say that's still its own reward. I do know the 12 ammo that you expend is daunting, but we'll see. Next, we'll review it next balance patch. So for now, we're focusing on a single player campaign. Any luck with new venue for PvP tournaments over in the Philippines? Any word back on the final Cosmic Clash video? Right now, no final word. That's why it's a bit quiet. Normally, what we do to like amp up like the presence of the game is to have like many events. But right now, the single player campaign and the loss of like Cosmic Gorgons. That's why we're quiet. There's really a lot on our plate, and there's not much else of a venue where we can like make events and stuff. Although I know there are some people who who don't like the idea of having a lot of focus on the PvP aspect or ramping up the game. Some might misconstrue it as like misplaced development. In truth, we just want to keep up interest in the game while we're developing it. Right now, what's happening is let's just say we don't have a lot of venues for like doing the ramp up marketing. Last April Fools was as close as you can get, and also there's really a lot of work into the single player PvP. Like I said, we're a small team, so it might take a while. Eagle is best girl. How can manufacturers possibly compete? I don't know. Montaglion's pretty in there with all the melee options and shield options. Will there be a separate mode or option to use? Yes, we will have a separate mode or option to use story mode leveled up parts in multiplayer. Well, swarms are really good. Okay. Cheesing avoidance tests. That should be changed. Why should it be changed? I'm avoiding damage. I'm not even fighting back. I like what I see, and I wish it's gonna be out soon. Can we see upgraded parts you have completed? It'll be quite a list, and I'd rather keep them secret so you guys can like see them for yourselves when you actually get to test it. We're aiming for end of month. It's quite daunting, but we'll get it out there. So what else? Hello, hi. Boy, I mean Dominus now, haha. Upgrade Eagle, oh boy. Can't wait to make a speed demon rhino. If you upgrade the parry shield, you'll be able to what? You'll be able to parry range now. Okay. Yeah, we'll see. Upgraded ETAC with Dominus level 3 extended range. It's already as big, longer than the Dominus actually. Let me double check. It is. I swear. Look at that ETAC level 2. Oh wait, I can go high. I can go even harder. go even further beyond. So let me just double check. Give me my charge. Give me my charge, boy. So as you can see, this is like the second stage ETAC. As you can, please ignore the 2. Not all of them will be called just like ETAC 2 or whatever. Some of them will basically have a different name, like Quago Awakened or something. No, it's not it's not actually Quago Awakened. So no, don't take that seriously. Look at that. That's actually the range of the Dominus is actually in its long wind up. Long wind up means we can put in more time in your character, like moving forward. So we gave that up for the ETAC, which means they travel forward less. But you get to do this. Well, it's like really fast compared to Dominus side. So I don't know about that. Cheesing avoidance tests. I am avoiding. What do you expect me to do? Attack the weak point, massive damage. Why not just keep the serious ones? Or actually, that is what we plan to do. We want to keep the serious ones. But I feel like I'll, because we took in like, there are some people who submitted voices that were only jokes and references. So those guys might miss out. So rather than like offend those guys, I'd rather just remove it entirely until we get like until we have like a comprehensive like list and actual voice actors, I want to say. But they'll be kept for horde mode. Those will be kept for horde mode. Are the campaign and arcade multiplayer garages and part sets going to be kept separate? Yes, because in mission mode and the single player campaign mode, the garage is also interlinked with the shop, and also because the mechs that you get to make in single player campaign have upgraded stats which are different from the stats that are outside, like in the base game, the game you guys have been playing, and for that reason they have to be different. You also shouldn't be able to just bring in mechs from outside single player campaign because of the limitations from buying parts from different manufacturers that will be part of the single player campaign. And like I said, for multiplayer in previous, like really old, our design was you should be able, for our multiplayer game, you should be able to have all the parts and equipment for multiplayer. You should have all of those mechanically, and you shouldn't like pay for additional ones or have to like have to like unlock anything, because like we had like a fighting game mindset when we first made Garrison Archangel. So we know it's a hassle to like try unlocking new characters just so you can play them in tournaments and have those characters balanced. So for now, what we resolved to do is the base form of all weapons, at least functionally, and parts, at least functionally, they're all there, and that's what we balanced. And that's all there for multiplayer purposes. For single player, it wasn't something we had in mind originally. So what we just decided to do is like really like segregate it, keep it its own thing. But you'll be able to get your multiplayer mech and bring it to your multiplayer game. I'm sorry. You'll be able to get your single player mech, whatever you have in your current playthrough of the single player campaign, you can bring it out and use it in multiplayer games. But if we'll have a new like setting, which is basically ATL restrictions, Archangel Tournament League restrictions, which will basically like handicap your mech because you're above like a certain. We'll actually have something in the game that tracks the power level of your Archangel. It'll also determine how hard your missions are and what kinds of enemies you'll face. There are some enemies you won't face until like later stages. There are some phases, like 5-phase missions that you won't see until later stages too. So you'll have to upgrade your mechs to unlock those more difficult missions. And if your mechs are at those higher power levels in multiplayer, if you enter a room with like an Archangel Tournament League restriction, a handicap will be applied to your mech, so that you'll be equal, I hope, to the base form of the other mechs, and also to like emulate the entire arena archangels are actually weaker than military spec archangels for safety reasons, and because they don't want the general populace knowing exactly how strong an archangel's capabilities are. They want to like project like a general idea, but they don't want like the general populace to know that now we can make everyone move like falcons if we wanted to actually. So the stuff that you see in the arena is not actually true. So there is but mechanically it's because we balance the game around the base form, and balancing the game as they're getting upgraded is quite daunting. And we didn't actually have that as part of our plan. So we're gonna balance the upgrades for single player, but not for multiplayer. If you guys want to play with your multiplayer upgraded mechs, with your like 10,000 speed, 10,000 speed Falcon 3s or whatever, like go ahead. But we won't use that for actual tournaments. So there. Why just keep the okay? Do you have to pay to repair your mech between missions? No, we don't have a real penalty for losing missions other than you don't gain any rewards. Use range. Dominus special, I mean. Is this like wrestling? Yeah, wrestling is fake. No. As far as most people in the Empire are concerned, the Archangel fights are real, and for all intents and purposes, the people who do join the Archangel arena are serious athletes. They do want to win because generally that means they become celebrities and they get paid. But in the world of the ghosts, which you will be joining in the single player campaign, everyone kind of knows that Archangel arena is kind of gimped, and it rewards more melee oriented play. In actual like missions, you might want to use range because the sheer amount of firepower going your way will mean you want to avoid getting damaged more than just dealing lots of damage. But of course, there are gonna be bosses that you want to deal lots of damage against, and of course, in one-on-one fights against an enemy with like a full arsenal of like dedicated weaponry for one-on-one, you might regret like bringing your full ranged Archangel. You'll want to have like tools at your disposal to counter their melee pressure. So there's that. Let's see what other questions are there before. Oh, it's been 45 minutes of me just drilling. Can we expect leveled up parts to be only skins in multiplayer mode? Yes, but like I said, there are some builds that might. That's what I meant by the handicap. But like I said, there are some builds that may become overweight. Like for example, there are certain body parts that actually gain strength when you upgrade them. Actually, all body parts gain some strength when you upgrade them. So Falcon might be able to carry more weapons in the upgraded form. So that means your build with the Falcon might become overweight when you bring it to multiplayer. If we just stick to the only skins rule in multiplayer mode, but at the same time, I might just do that because, like I said, it's supposed to be. They were supposed to be skins in the first place, but I actually have an alternative in mind in which there's like a handicap applied, like they get a percentage less in terms of health and weapon damage rather than affecting their load, their strength, load, whatever. Like it'll affect all their stats in general rather than just like, oh, okay, suddenly all your stats are like this. And you're overweight now because your strength is back to 4,000. It's no longer 5,000. So there's that. We'll see what we'll see what we can do. We're actually gonna release it first for public, and we'll see if which is the better option. If it's just gonna be like a hard, yeah, it's they're all skins now. They won't have those additional functionalities or a handicap that like bars. It doesn't bar it. It basically makes them weaker in different ways. So we'll see what we can do regarding that. Next, feels like it's been ages. Okay, next. Hope you guys can find a way to push the sports sub theme. That sounds really cool, like G Gundam. Yeah, that was the original plan. We just wanted to stick to the arena, fighting game kind of deal. Uh, where I actually have some ideas to make the tournament like a submission branch in single player. Like on top of your military missions, you might actually get invited to tournament league games. And one of my ideas was there's actually like a button in the menu which you can track where you are in the ranking, and if ever you're gonna join the next tournament, who's gonna be your next fight and who's the top of the tournament. And we're thinking that's also procedurally generated so that in your next playthrough it could be the top spot is taken by Mr. Surprise or something. He's like the current season champion. He's the guy you have to beat if you want to become the current champion. So there's still a lot of stuff I can't show here, sadly. But like I said, there's a lot to complete. Like the upgrades you're seeing here. I haven't even shown the weapon upgrades because they're not all in yet. We hope next time we'll have them in. We have the body part upgrades here, like the stats, but not all of them is done yet. We're still modifying the numbers. And like I said, in mission mode right now you're just seeing it's very basic, a very there's no narrative, no real, it doesn't even have the faction threat system just yet, the where a random faction will suddenly send a kill squad to interfere in your mission, make your life harder basically. So you have to avoid pissing off faction, but you can't avoid it because if you want to like get to the max level of a certain faction, you will make enemies of other factions, and that will also lock off what you can buy, what kind of parts you can buy. So it's gonna be a real like I'll choose this route, and choosing certain routes will really determine what kind of Archangel parts you'll get. So if you're gonna be like an Eagle fanboy, you'll get lots of guns and speed builds, and you'll get that Ultimate Eagle build I showed you earlier. But if you chose a different route, like if you were gonna help out Medvedev or Montag, you'll find your Archangels will also play differently. So I think that's it. That's all I really can show you guys. I'm sorry. I know it's been a long when period of silence. But I hope you guys enjoyed the April Fool's thing we did. Can you find and assassinate your next opponent then? That's a good idea. Sadly, no, we won't. But I'll see. Because one of the factions in the game is actually like a crime syndicate. They're a conglomerate. They're like a conglomeration of bandits, space pirates, and they're basically like a space mafia. And the one thing they have currently is you'll make enemies with the legitimate factions, but they'll pay you double. But your reputation will suffer if you keep working with them. But that angle might work. I'm wondering about that. If you have a high enough reputation with them, if it unlocks certain things you can do using their criminal networks. Or for factions, yes, there will be missions that annoy multiple factions. Yeah. One of the factions in the game is actually called the Piedrana Separatists. They're actually angry. Because the game takes place on a planet called Baja Secunda, and Baja Secunda was once a nice planet, but it's terrible now because of the war with the Demiurge and stuff. and now multiple factions are fighting for stuff that's left over from that war. There's a lot of tech fell on the planet, and actually, I might have revealed too much. The surface reason, the surface reasoning is that there is a mega corporation called Sunfield Frontier that has built on the lands of the planet's traditional rulers, which is called the Ducaron family. And the Ducaron family does not appreciate that because, according to them, basically the Sunfield Frontier mining buildings are there illegally. But like I said, because they're both prefectures, there's no actual legality to that. If they're as far as they're concerned, they have their own like autonomy in terms of rules and stuff. And because the imperial court doesn't actually take sides because they're all equal under the imperial law. What they do instead is they provide a basically an imperial sanctioned mercenary group called Ghosts who handle conflicts between different prefectures, and that's where you come in. You're basically like a glorified mercenary, so they pay you to handle their conflicts with each other. So, or buy block parts for a premium on the black market. That's actually an interesting idea. We'll see how much we can implement. But I am seeing some nice ideas here. Oh, like ravens. Yep. No, we're totally not like ravens. No. Basically, basically, ghosts are the mercenary faction. You're a ghost. They're called ghosts because normal imperial citizens shouldn't really know about the conflicts between the prefectures. It's bad for the idea that the empire is a unified front of humanity against the demiurge. But they are a unified front against the demiurge. That's the only reason they really pledged loyalty to the emperor if they were not annexed or subjugated. Basically, ghosts do the real Archangel work behind the scenes. The arena is the public face of the Archangel, and the Legion is the public face of the Imperial military might. But the ghosts are, while there are no fights with the Demiurge at the moment, they're the ones really fighting the wars between the prefectures, actually. And the interesting thing about it is they're sanctioned by the Empire itself. So it's like, okay, if you guys really want to go to war with each other, we'll allow you, but it has to be like a Empire sanctioned. You have to use Empire sanctioned soldiers for it. Like, you guys are allowed to fight each other, kind of deal. So that's the premise. I'm revealing a lot about the single player. We hope the mission mode and the upcoming codex upgrade. Yeah, there'll be a lot of stuff coming into the codex, like the different terminologies. The factions are in already, but they're like short. They're short because in the future, the actual narrative, each faction will have like 3 special missions linked to them. Like, there's gonna be the first special mission that unlocks the second upgrades for their parts. Then the third one that unlocks the final upgrade, and a final mission. And that basically it's just there for narrative purposes, basically. And we're hoping it unlocks like special cosmetics. But all those special missions will actually unlock cosmetics like flares. You see that level 1 that people were asking about. We're actually gonna do something with that, and it's gonna be something you'll see in multiplayer. Like, if you've been an Eagle fanboy so hard, you've bought all the Eagle products, you've advocated for Eagle merchandise all your life. You're gonna have like an Eagle flare, and then when people fight you in multiplayer, they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's that Eagle guy." So there. Yep. So yeah, there's that. Of course, the faction final missions, not all of them will actually affect the overall like campaign, because we're actually aiming for like a definite end to the campaign. It's procedural, but there's a definitive like once you reach this point of the campaign, it's done. Uh, it's done, and you can either do another run or you can keep playing for money and to buy the unlocks. But more or less, the factions, by the time you reach the end game for certain factions, you will be locked out of other factions. Basically, those other factions will be angry at you forever. That kind of deal. So yeah, there's that. We'll see that. We'll see if we can get that in the game as soon as possible. But for now, we're aiming to get like the general, just the mission mode and unlocking parts in the procedural stuff. Then we'll put the actual narrative in the future, and then we'll see. After that, once the single player is complete, we'll finally release the game and it'll leave early access. That's really our end goal for in all this. So that's that. I think I revealed what our plans are. So for end of April, we just want the mission mode out with the shop, and for May, we'll see if we can add in the special missions at least for the factions. Then the main missions for the main narrative factions. The main you'll be able to see the main narrative missions, and then we'll see about adding the cosmetics and stuff we promised for a while now. So can you unlock all the skins in Garage? Not in one single playthrough. Not in one single playthrough of single player. So you'll have to do multiple playthroughs. And you'll have to mindfully pick certain factions over the other. So I think that's it. Oh, wow. I said I wanted it to be short, but I've been talking for a while now. Feels like it's been ages. Yeah, it's been ages. Will be an option to play through campaign, locking factions out. Yes, we're gonna try and get multiple save files per campaign. We'll also see about like exporting your mechs. We're thinking if you export your campaign mech to the multiplayer, it's a one way process, and it's something you have to mindfully do. Rather than if you play multiplayer, you'll have all your mechs there. So basically, you'll have to mindfully go into your campaign, click on this mech, and say, okay, I want to use this mech for multiplayer. So it's not something I'll just have multiple playthroughs, then all my mechs. Because we know there are people out there with almost 100 builds right now. So we want to limit like adding more mech slots, unneeded mech slots to the main garage for multiplayer and arcade purposes. So there's that. And what else? No more questions. I think we can end here for all this stuff. Not shabby. Yeah, we're trying to make the different factions also have their own like personalities and agenda. So, like I said, there's a whole narrative planned. I actually revealed a lot more than I should have, I think. But I hope you guys didn't catch on to many of the major plot points I actually revealed. So, let's just say there are factions that will appear because of course they're all corporate, like not all of them. Many of the factions are mega corporations, so they project a certain like brand, but let's just say they don't play. In actuality, they don't play by their brand. So that's all I can say about that. I got 170. See that? And then these are the people who ask for ways to manage the garage, and I'm like, I can't even get like 50 builds, and I have to build mechs for like the grunts and enemies. That's the only reason I have 50 builds. But anyway, we'll see what we can do about managing the garage for you guys. But really, guys, what? Can't you just erase your old mechs or something? Jeez. Anyway, I think that's it. You guys have been staring at a static screen for a while, so I think we can piece out of this Wednesday Warzone. So this has been Paolo for Wednesday Warzone for April. I hope you guys enjoyed my April Fool's thing, the anime stuff, because some of the stuff there might actually get into the game. I'm not gonna explain which ones. And yeah, I'll just say just check out the April Fool's stuff. The announcement is still there on Steam, so it might be some stuff you'll look back in the future and be like, "Oh my gosh, they actually went through with this." So yeah, we'll also I actually there's some stuff we might do for arcade and horde mode as well. Uh, to round out the experience of like satisfying, like if you win this satisfying feeling of progression, and we might discuss more of that next month, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, this has been Wednesday Warzone. This was Paulor on behalf of the Garrison Archangel staff. Thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting the game. If you haven't bought the game yet, please do buy it. It's on Steam right now, and it's only like $15. uh, it's still in our early access after a year, but like I said, we've decided to add a new single player campaign that wasn't originally in our goals. And if you compared it actually to our day early when we first released on early access, and even with our demo on itch.io, you'll see it's a lot more, it's a lot different. It's changed a lot over that year. So one run active time. Okay, well, so sorry, I lost track. I read something. Anyway, this has been Wednesday Warzone. And what was my thought? Yeah, last year our itch.io demo shows that the game has come a long way. Even though we've been in early access for a year, you can see the changes and how far the game has progressed compared to how it used to be. Visuals, gameplay, mechanics wise, and in general, just the feel, the just the feel of the game. But if there are problems, if you still have problems with the game, like bugs and whatnot, please do feel free to post in our Steam forums or to go to our Discord channel. We're very active there. Actually, I'm reading off messages from the channel to answer stuff on this show. So that's been Wednesday Warzone. This has been Paulor. Sara, bye bye.